Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us today as we delve into the fascinating and somewhat mind-blowing story behind a 1997 1-cent coin that has captured the attention of collectors, investors, and curious minds around the world. Imagine a coin so flawed, so erroneous, that has become one of the most valuable pennies known to numismatists, a small piece of copper whose imperfections make it almost priceless to some, commanding prices in the millions. In this long, winding tale, we'll explore every nook and cranny of its history, digging into the specific errors and mistakes that turned a humble 1-cent piece into a multi-million-dollar marvel, the speculations and possibilities that drive its sky-high valuation, and the controversies and risks surrounding its authenticity and future worth. As you listen, I invite you to suspend disbelief just enough to realize that mistakes, after all, sometimes become the very thing that creates rarity and enormous value. So let's leap into this extraordinary saga to understand how 1997 penny could ever be worth millions. You first need to appreciate the ordinary world of coin minting and how errors occur. In any minting process, a master die is used to stamp blanks in a coinage under immense pressure, creating the raised features, lettering, and images standard to that coin. Most pennies produced in 1997 were made flawlessly by standards of everyday currency. Lincoln's profile, the words "In God We Trust," Liberty, the date 1997, and the mint mark, if applicable, all struck cleanly on a copper planchet of 95% copper and 5% zinc. Prior to 1982, they had been nearly pure copper. But by 1997, most pennies were copper-plated zinc. These regular pennies, circulated by the hundreds of millions, possessed only of nominal face value. But somewhere in that process, perhaps in the die creation, planchet preparation, striking, or handling, something went catastrophically awry for what would become the legendary 1997 1-cent era coin. The specific coin that sold, or is claimed to command such a high price, presumably exhibits a series of egregious and spectacular minting errors, each compounding the other, making it so extraordinarily rare. And when a coin combines multiple severe errors, collectors call it a variety error or mega error, often pushing values through the roof. The story behind this particular penny revolves around an alleged misplacement or misalignment, doubling or tripling of design elements, possibly a missing clad layer, perhaps misapplication of alloys, and even planchet defects or trimmed planchet edges so dramatic that the coin's appearance is truly shocking. The errors might include, for example, a double die in which the die itself was engraved twice slightly misaligned, causing ghosted or overlapping images and letters, a hub doubling or repunched mint mark, a clipped planchet where a blank was partially missing because a scrap of metal got in the way during cutting, a lamination error, where layers of metal peel or separate, gross off-center strikes, where the strike occurred far off from the coin's center so that large portions of design are missing, weak strikes, where pressure was insufficient and details are faint or missing, and foreign material inclusion, where debris or foreign metal got embedded during minting. In rare instances, planchets may even be of the wrong alloy. For instance, a zinc core failing to be plated properly, or even a foreign copper slug. Any combination of these could make that penny utterly unlike any other 1997 cent. Suppose that our coin has a misaligned double die, making Lincoln's face appear twice, slightly offset, and the motto letters appear doubled, along with a clipping of the rim that cut into the Liberty and "In God We Trust" legends. Then imagine that this coin also suffered a severe lamination error in which the outer copper plating is partially peeling away, revealing the zinc core underneath. You might see crusty layers flake, sort of peeled edges where the copper seems to curl. Then imagine, further, an off-center strike so that only half the date 1997 and maybe parts of Liberty are visible, and the remaining pattern strikes empty blank field. To pile on, perhaps it was struck on a defective planchet that had cracks, flow lines, or voids, so that some parts of the design are entirely missing or sunken. If you combine all these errors, the coin might look like a bizarre mash of missing and ghosted images, partially peeled metal surfaces, and skewed edges. That combination of errors is what turns a mundane penny into a once-in-history specimen. But individual coins with serious errors exist. After all, many famous pennies like the 1955 double die or a 1943 bronze cent are worth thousands or millions. The peculiar thing about this particular 1997 penny is the claim that its errors and mistakes are so compounded and so extreme that there's literally no peer. It stands alone. That uniqueness is central to its astronomical value. In the world of numismatics, value arises from rarity, condition, and demand, but above all, unique or near-unique specimens draw buyers willing to pay incredible sums. The narrative goes that this penny was discovered by a collector or dealer who recognized immediately that something was deeply amiss. They sent it to a top grading and certification service, perhaps Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, or Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, NGC, for authentication, error verification, and grading. The grading service would have adjudicated whether these errors were natural mint errors and of mint origin, and whether the coin was genuine and untampered with. Suppose they gave it a high grade despite the errors, or perhaps an error designation rather than a pure grade, certifying it as unique. That certification is crucial. It gives buyers confidence that this isn't a post-mint alteration or a novelty created later. Once certified, this coin enters an exotic, speculative market. Some collectors, investors, or speculators argue that this coin may be the most dramatic error penny ever observed. And because it is essentially one of a kind, it becomes the kind of trophy that ultra-high-end collectors will